Never underestimate something just because it seems small. Even the tiniest thing can make a big difference. Once upon a time, in a peaceful, magical forest, there lived a tiny little feather. It rested quietly on an old tree branch and watched the birds flying high in the sky every day. The little feather often wondered, "I am so small. How could I ever be useful to anyone?" One day, a powerful wind suddenly swept through the forest. The trees began to shake. Leaves flew everywhere, and suddenly, the tiny feather was carried away by the wind. It became frightened. "Where am I going?" The wind carried the feather to another part of the forest. There, it saw a tiny, injured bird sitting helplessly on the ground. One of the bird's wings was hurt, and it couldn't fly. The little feather looked at the bird and thought, "Maybe I can help." The feather noticed that the cold wind was making the bird's injury hurt even more. So the little feather gently placed itself over the bird's injured wing. It blocked the cold wind. The little bird finally felt some warmth. It looked at the feather with surprise. But suddenly, the sky became dark. Heavy rain began to fall. The little bird started getting soaked. The tiny feather moved over the bird and protected it from the rain. The feather became completely wet, but it refused to leave the little bird. The next morning, the sun finally came out. The rain had stopped. The little bird's wing was feeling much better. Slowly, it stood up. Then it spread its wings, and this time, it could fly! The little bird flew high into the sky. After a while, it came back. It gently picked up the tiny feather with its beak and carried it to its nest. There, the feather became part of the cozy little home. The tiny feather was no longer useless. It had become someone's home. The tiny feather smiled peacefully. Something it had always thought was small and useless had helped save a life. That day, the feather finally understood. You don't have to be big to make a big difference. Never underestimate something just because it seems small. Even the tiniest thing can make a big difference.